Mount View was first built in 1965, but did you know that Mount View's history goes all the way back to the year 1836? It all started with Freedom Academy, which began construction in 1836 and cost a total of $1,175 to build. It opened that same year with classes starting in the coming fall. Freedom Academy didn't restrict people for their age or prior education. Anyone with any level of education can enroll. Students typically lived in houses outside of the school, and a 2-story girls' dormitory was later constructed in 1902. At the same time, there was another school being built not that far away. Unity started out having small one-room schoolhouses that were unorganized. They weren't always open, and they didn't have many students. And it wasn't until 1922 when Unity decided that it needed to have a good school. The construction of Unity High School ended up costing around $19,000 before opening its doors that same year.
My father was there, graduated in 1935. He had a sister graduated in 33 and 2 brothers that graduated in 38 and 41. My father used to drive the horse and buggy to school and stable it there. Near the school there was a barn and he used to stable it there.
Meanwhile, back in Freedom, they had no idea what was headed their way. On January 25th, 1947, Freedom Academy unfortunately burnt down. Construction for a new Freedom Academy happened almost immediately. Almost exactly 11 years after Freedom Academy recovered from its losses, the school burnt down for a second time.
When the place burned, I was devastated. They said, "Don't run." I ran across that gym floor and down them stairs. I swear I was the first one out because I turned around and everybody was right behind me. There weren't nobody in front of me, I'll tell you right now. It was really scary. We was all crying. It was devastating. I never forgot it. The fire truck wouldn't start, and it was parked down in underneath the school. The boys had to push it out. That's where they were housed, under the school. It sounds kind of weird, but some of them, was running around there. The boys, they was acting silly. One of them, I remember, had an axe, went up and was chopping on the corner of the building. I'm like, what in the world? Just to be funny, but I don't know. Us girls, we were more serious about everything. I mean, a lot of the boys were too, but just the way some of them were acting that day. They claimed it started down in the coal bin, or the furnace room, as I called it. It doesn't surprise me. Somebody told me that a lot of the students would sneak down there and smoke. Well, whether that had anything to do with it or not, I don't know. So it was devastating to know school's gone, and they decided not to rebuild, and that was even more heartbreaking for us. We would rather have gone, back there. It was January when it burned, and it was, cold. And I didn't have my boots, I didn't have my coat, because they was down in my locker. We was all outside. And luckily I had relatives across the street, and they brought over blankets and coats and things for, different ones to put on, because it was cold, we didn't have anything. I lost, my wallet and with pictures and things that I really cherished that was in my wallet. But I remember Dad taking me shopping to get me new boots and new coat in Waterville because I needed it for school. The school meant a lot to me. I loved Freedom Academy. I just loved everything about it. When the place burned, I was devastated. It was awful. And then it's like, what do we do now? Nobody was hurt, so that's all that mattered. But the school, everything was gone. I don't remember being out of school very long. I forget now, it's been so long, before we was going to Unity.
Freedom Academy's neighboring school, Unity High School, invited the students from Freedom Academy to come stay with them in their gym. After Freedom Academy moved into their gym, Unity realized their space was too crowded and there wasn't enough space for all those students. That's when Unity decided to turn Unity High School into Unity Freedom High School.
My name is Barbara. My maiden name was Seaver. Last name is Duffy now. I graduated in 1964 from Unity Freedom High School. I went to the same set of schools from first grade to 12. I had 7 kids that we all went to school together from the first grade to the 12th grade, and there's 2 left, and I'm one of them. Everybody knew each other. We knew the freshmen. We knew everybody.
It was more like a family. That's all I could think of. We pretty much knew everybody in the whole school, at least I did. I knew everybody. I mean, everybody knew everybody. Anything going on, everybody knew.
For a small school, we had a lot. They had dances, they had proms, of course, senior prom, junior prom. They had one-act plays, they had prize speaking. Probably there's pretty much the same, more or less the same curriculums as you have now. You do those things now. When the Freedom Academy students all came to us, we were a very small school. We were a very small school, and we were crowded. We were having classes in the gymnasium. We were having study halls in the gymnasium. And then we were having our cafeteria, we were having our lunch in the gymnasium. And then we'd have basketball practice after school or one-act plays. The gymnasium was everything. We had classrooms upstairs because the school was too small, and they knew it once that happened.
Class sizes we went from 24 in my class to about 50 in the class, which was one of the strange things for us.
A lot of the Freedom kids were very angry that they couldn't finish there because Freedom Academy had burned down once before and they rebuilt it, but they were not going to rebuild it this time. The school burned in the fall, like November, December of 1958, and they all came to our school then. I was in grammar school. But it also affected my classes for the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. The class of 58 had their own graduation, and then we had our hours. They just wanted to have their own because they were seniors when the academy burned down. And then the next year it was combined.
We were separate schools for the rest of that year, and then we combined the classes, and they had their own teachers, their own classes. I was into sports. I played basketball and softball all 4 years. My senior year, they introduced field hockey, and I played that. It was the strangest game I'd ever been involved in. I still don't understand the rules. It was like a whistle blew every 3 seconds. We just didn't know the rules. Never seen a game before in my life. Never even heard of field hockey. First thing they did was had an intramural basketball, some from Freedom, some from Unity on each team, and it was really fun playing with the people that you had played against. Particularly in Unity High School, the boys and girls played the same night, same venue. Then when Unifree combined, we were in different leagues. The boys had a JV team and a varsity team and played in venues in the evenings. The girls' games were always only in the afternoon. I scored 43 points one game in a basketball game at Lawrence High School, the first time I ever played with glass backboards, because we had all the little schools around had wooden backboards that always had a chip or paint scratch or something, so when you threw the ball up, it didn't always come down in the same place you expected it to. Playing in Liberty, the hall that we played in had a wood stove that came out about 3 feet into the playing area, so they had a big iron fence around it. You had to dribble with your head up or you'd be running into the stove. Back in softball in those years, the only safety equipment was the catcher had a face mask. No helmets, no shin guards, no chest protector, but we survived. I was the catcher. I've only got one problem with a broken finger that grew sideways. Mary Blood was a cook there at Unity and was my neighbor. And my senior year, I drove one of the cars. I drove her car to the softball games with the equipment and 5 or 6 other players. No seatbelts, so you could really fill the car. She'd ride the bus home from school. When we got done our softball games, then I'd deliver the kids back to school. Then I'd take the car to her house, and then I'd walk home. It was different. I'm sure that the insurance reasons now, they'd never let a student take an official group like that. But it's fun to look back. I don't know if you've heard of Cooper Flagg, that played for Nokomis, and now he's in Florida. His grandmother was in the Freedom Academy class of 58 that moved over, and and played with us. So it's nice to say, oh, I played against his grandmother. I know how good she was. Our English teacher was not one of the favorites of everybody. So 4 of the boys, they wedged her car in between the steps and the side of the building so that she couldn't get out. I think they had to get a tow truck to haul her out. It seemed like everywhere you go, there's somebody that said, oh, didn't you go to high school in Unity? And it was a wonderful experience for me. I made lifelong friends.
I made a lot of new friends that I wouldn't have if we'd still gone to Freedom. Even though we were sad, that we lost our school, we made friends and everybody, did okay.
It was like an extended family, really, that everybody knew everybody and everybody just got along.
One year before Freedom Academy closed, Bessey High School caught fire.
Bessey High School in Albion burned, and so a lot of those kids had come to Unity. And then getting Freedom in wasn't bad. My transition wasn't as bad as a lot of them.
And 1 year later, on September 10th, 1936, construction for a new school began, and with the help of many people, Walker School was completed on January 16th, 1937. There was also Morse Memorial High School, which got its name because the school was built as a memorial for Willis E. Morse. The land that Morse Memorial was built on originally cost $250. Construction was complete on December 1st, 1964, and cost around $61,000, which included 2 stories and a basement. Years later, in 1965, Mount View High School was built, and high school students from Walker moved out of Walker High School and consolidated to Mount View. And then in 1970, 7th and 8th graders were also moved to Mount View, which made Walker an elementary school. Everything was normal at Walker Elementary until November 1984, when SAD3 had big plans to get rid of the school and make Walker students go to Mount View instead. They were already scouting for a place to build a new school in Montville. SAD3 gave the argument that since Walker was built in the 1930s, it was not up to date with fire safety codes, with no ventilation or emergency exits. The building also had 2 floors with no accessibility. It was also said that Walker High School had a small playground, a small kitchen, and no multi-purpose room. SAD3 voted in a 10-minute-long meeting that Walker would officially be closed down, and community members were not happy. The community was so upset by this decision that they begged RSU3 to add renovations to Walker instead of shutting it down. They all came together and made a concept image of the additions that they would like to add onto the school and raised thousands of dollars. Unexpectedly, their plan worked, and the renovations were made in 1986. Now Walker Elementary School still remains today. After Mount View's construction in 1965, all Unity Freedom High School students were moved there.
We knew when we graduated in 1964 that we were going to be the last class at Unity Freedom. And this school was actually in the process of being built. And so those freshmen came in that fall. And so my little baby brother was a freshman here at Mount View in the fall of 1964. And he graduated in 1968. The graduating class from my brother, he graduated in 1966 from here. I think it was close to 200. And Andy, my little brother, graduated in 68 from here, and I think his was over 200. My class was 48, 24 boys and 24 girls.
By 1970, 7th and 8th grade were both moved out of Walker and Morse high schools and then moved to Mount View Junior High. In 1987, both of Mount View's basketball teams made it to the state championships. Mount View boys basketball team ended up winning the state game against Gorham with a score of 69-50.
69-50. As the Mount View coaches shake hands. Foul shot is missed, but it's only academic, and it goes up. And what an astonishing victory for this Mount View team. As the game, Bob, we thought was pins and needles, possibly overtime, and Mount View has won by a total of 19 points. MSAD number 3 are the towns of Brook, Unity, Thorndike, Troy, Freedom, Knox, Liberty, Monroe, Montville, Waldo, and Jackson. I imagine those TV sets are on fire right now.
And I think the VCRs are on fire. Everybody from those towns is here. There they are, how sweet it is.
37 years later in 2024 was the next time that Mount View basketball made it to the state championship, after winning regionals against Calais with a score of 72-38. Emily Ellis was the first person to score 1,000 points in basketball for Mount View, and possibly the whole state. You can still see her name all over the school to this day. Mount View High School kept becoming more and more crowded. On August 29, 2007, people wanted SAD-3 to combine with SAD-34 in Belfast and SAD-56 in Searsport. SAD-3 was the only one out of the three that voted to stay individual instead of consolidating. The problem that we had with consolidating the districts was that SAD-3 is spread out and it covers a lot more area than either of the other districts do. Morse Memorial Elementary was eventually renovated in 1989, while Monroe and Troy Elementary schools were both built around the 90s and still remain today. Eventually, an addition was made onto the side of the Mount View building, and trailers were placed outside of the complex. In the 2000s, SAD-3 began planning to upgrade Mount View. Construction for the new Mount View building began around 2007. Building the CPAC was a very big project for SAD-3. You can see that they made several concept images of what they wanted it to look like, and this is what it turned out to be. They also took many pictures of the construction, compared to what it looks like now. Building the new Mount View complex was said to be the biggest construction project in the state of Maine at the time, costing over $40 million, and it was eventually completed in 2009. They kept the radiator from the old building, and still today it has its place in the front entrance of our new school.
Should I start with the year I graduated, or, oh, what's this one?
I know a lot more people in this year than I thought I did.
Some of these people, I'm going to have their kids in my class. Oh, there I am. That's me. They had a lot of hair.
Oh, I found my mom in the circle thing. She's that one right there. That my middle finger's pointing to.
Oh my God, look, future plans broadcasting. Did you read that? So much for broadcasting.
My mom's favorite saying was "what," which still holds true today. Someone will say something to her, and she'll just be like, "What?"
Huh?
I'm in here for cheering too. Excuse me. Have you seen that? All of our names ended in I or IE except for like 2 people. Christy, Sadie, Carrie, Jackie, Leslie, Lori, Danny, Jody.
I was trying to find her somewhere else, but I guess my mom's just right here, and she's right there. Her nickname was Nay or Najeen Babe. She was best known for her red hair. Her future plans were to go to Australia and be a florist. She did both of those things. Her favorite memory was a random day in April, April 18th in the summer, she says April 18th in the summer of '87, but I don't think she remembered that that's in the spring. That's all right.
We actually, the top 5 schools, or the top 4 schools went to states for cheering, and we came in 5th. Actually, I think I'm in here for chorus. I just look for the big hair. Where am I? We all had big hair in the early 90s. Oh, there I am. Wow, I'm in like all of these. Oh my gosh. My haunted house picture. They actually put that in the yearbook. It's a doll that I had covered in ketchup with a piece of glass through its head.
She was on art club. She did all 4 arts: chorus, drama, yearbook, field hockey, prom committee, volleyball. She was a manager for the varsity basketball team for the boys. Project graduation, and she did a haunted house and a Christmas party.
Every year the seniors would do a haunted house and charge people to go through, and it helped raise money for our project graduation.
This is my mom, right there. This is my dad, right there. And then this is my grandfather, which is 1968.
I have no idea. This was when I was teaching, so My first year of teaching, I taught at Mount View High School in alternative ed, out in the trailer. Oh, there I am. I've never seen this picture.
My mom's nickname was Camshaft, and her future plans were college. My dad's was Rai Rai, and his future plans were to own a business. There's nothing really here for my grandfather, just as he wants to be a playboy.
What do you think about like having students that you've taught before as kids?
It's a little weird. It makes me feel old.
They smell old. I'll never forget my 18th birthday party. It was a rough one. That's from my dad.
I think it's pretty cool that we're all second or third, some of us probably even fourth generation, like RSU3 students here. I know I am. I know that my, pretty sure, 2 times great-grandparents even like went to school around here.
Last year I had a student that I had a long time ago. I used to teach 6th grade and it was part of the elementary, and I had 2 students that now have kids in my class this year. Last year I had 1. I have worked here for 4 years. This is my 3rd year in a row, and then I worked here 1 year before when I first started teaching district. This is my 14th year in RSU3. I taught at Unity Elementary, which is now a preschool, and then I taught at Troy School. Would I ever have students of these students? I mean, kids of these students that I have now? I'll probably be dead by then.
I know my great-grandmother went to school in Brooks, because this is way back when they had high school there, and just the town you're in. And then my grandparents went to school here, probably at the old complex or something like that. And then my parents, there's my mom, and here's my dad, both went to school here, which I think is super cool. Pretty sure they were both voted Life of the Party. Let me find that. Yep, Life of the Party. There's my mom in Life of the Party, and I'm pretty sure, let me find my dad, the second too. He was also voted Life of the Party. Yep, Life of the Party. There he is, Caleb Bren. I strive to be just like my parents were in high school. Well, not so much like my dad was in high school. That's a little story. I strive to be more like my mom in high school. She was smart, but she still had fun, which I think is definitely what matters.
I have his daughter this year, had his son 2 years ago. Both of the kids that got best looking are still living in the same area. I still know them and see them once in a while. A lot of people stayed close by. Some of them moved away, but most people stayed right here. The senior superlatives, the nicest smile. She is my next door neighbor now.
I'd just like to say how much my parents in high school differed, and I think it's really funny. So my mom's nicknames were Meg, Meggles, the little one. Her future plans were college. My dad's nickname was Bob, and then his future plans were live high, comma, party. And then my mom's senior quote was, every time I close my eyes, I start to drift away, thinking about some days gone by, just how time floats away. Every time I hear that song, puts a smile on my face, brings me back to the good friends and times money can't replace. I think that was just song lyrics she put in there. And then another underneath that, it says, respect yourself, be somebody who cares. Don't let life get you down. Don't feel abused. Keep positive view and true to yourself. And then my dad has nothing. Actually, he has few words, little wisdom above him. So I think that's really funny. That's my dad.
It's kind of weird, seeing kids that I went to school with and kids of students that I've actually taught before. So it makes me feel even older, though, having students of students. Students that used to be my students.
Oh my God. Well, Colt's not here to talk about his dad, but I'll talk about Colt's dad. So, this is Colt Martin's dad, Jack. I'm really good friends with Jack and Cole. I think they're great people. So anyways, Jack's nickname in high school was Jackson, and he lived in Montville. And that's all it says about him. Oh, I found Grady Feeney's dad as well. We're just going through other people's parents. So this is Ben Feeney, Grady Feeney's dad. It just says nothing above him. But anyways, that's him.
Yeah, when I first started teaching here, the high school was one hallway. It was one big long hallway, and all the classrooms for the high school fit in that one hallway. We did have trailers, but those were like for elementary and alternative education. There weren't actual like history and science and English. All those classes were inside the building. The new school's really nice, though. I think it's a lot better. We needed more space instead of putting trailers all over the land. And when I first started teaching here, a lot of the teachers that were here were teachers that I had as a student. People that came here stayed here they were here for a long time. Mr. Estes was teaching when I was a student here, and someday some kids will be talking about me that way. Ms. Denton was here back when I was in school.
Mr. Petrock, this was his first year teaching
No
here.
way.
Yep, I'm going to be Mr. Petrock's second generation next year. Because, he had my mom his first year, and I'll have me this year.
There's Mr. Tozier, who was here up until last year, right? It feels like this was probably 10 years ago, and it was a little over 30 years ago. Now I'm an old person. I'm just glad you didn't bring the 90, 91 yearbook, 89, because those are years I don't want to remember.
They look old.
My parents both still look pretty similar to what they looked like in high school.
Yeah, your mom has not changed.
Yeah, no, neither of my parents have really changed. Well, I don't know if you can see the phone very well, but that's him now, or at least a few weeks ago, and that's him in high school. I still think he looks pretty similar. Here's my mom in high school versus now. I still think she looks pretty similar. Hopefully I'll get both my parents good not-aging genetics.
I have family in this, which is weird.
Why is it weird?
I don't know. I wasn't expecting it. Also, my family's weird.
How long have you worked in RSU3?
This is 51 years. I was first hired to work in special ed, and I worked in there for 2 years, and then got moved right into the main office at Unity. I liked special ed, but I'm glad now I'm where I am. I like being in the office, yeah. I just love my job, otherwise I wouldn't be here this long, and I plan to stay as long as I can. But I love the job. I love the students. I love the teachers, all the staff. I had a few years from in between graduation and the time that I was hired, but they were just odds and ends of jobs, nothing that was right for me until I got this one, and this was the right job for me. It was much simpler, everything was, back when I was first hired. And like with anything, it changes. Now in this day, with all of the digital stuff, that's a big change. Everything was paper when I first started, and now everything's computerized. It is a community where we're here to help each other, and I think that's what we do the best. We are a community, we're a big family, a real big family.
There are still many pieces of the old building around today. Not many people know the long history of our school, but we walk through it every day. As we walk through the halls, we are surrounded by reminders of where our community came from, and everybody who made it possible for us to get to where we are today.